Hello, welcome to Akulmek Live. I'm Kanchan Verma, and you are welcome to our series Delhi Sultanate and Mughal. Today we have a very eminent historian with us, Mrs. Meeta Joshi. So before starting our series, let's welcome her.
Namaskar, Kanchan. I am fine. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine, madam. And as you know that we are doing a series of Delhi Sultanate and Mughals. So today, what emperor we are covering?
Because last episode we discussed about the first battle of Panipat. So let's talk about Babur today.
Well, it is an interesting topic, and we are very keen to know about Babar because Babar has come from a very different background. He's come from Fargana. So, over to you to really know how all this started and why he thought of conquering Indian boundaries.
Okay. So see, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, he was the founder of Mughal Empire in India. And if you see his time period, it is from 1483 to 1530 AD. He had he was born out of an Turk and Mongol wedlock. So he had the ferocity of a Mongol and the courage and ability of a Turk. At that time, when the Delhi Sultanate was disintegrating, Babur thought this is the right time to strike because the Lodi dynasty, no good successors were there. Plus, Ibrahim Lodi, who was the existing Sultan of the Lodis in the Delhi Sultanate, he was a very arrogant type of a person, and the population, his ministers, nobles never liked him. He, in, and you will be surprised to know that his own cousin, Behlul Lodi, he invited Babur to India to have a battle with Ibrahim Lodi. So Babur planned it accordingly, and they met on the historical ground of Panipat on 21st April 1526 AD. And in that battle, Ibrahim Lodi was killed along with his 20,000 troops. So it was a bloody battle, lot of bloodshed. But it is also a significant battle because it established Mughal rule in India. See, time and again, I'm telling you that few battles are very, very significant when we read about Indian history. The Before this battle of Panipat, the Battle of Tarain, okay, 1192, because after that only the Delhi Sultanate got established after the Battle of Tarain. Then this first Battle of Panipat in 1526 AD, and after the first Battle of Panipat, the third most significant battle is the Battle of Plassey in 1757 AD between Nawab Sirajuddaulah and Robert Clive, because after Battle of Plassey, the British rule got established in India. So these three battles are very, very significant. So after the Battle of Panipat, Babur uh, was determined to settle in the Indian soil, but it was not a cakewalk for him. Why? Because he had to face resistance from the other rulers who were not included in Mughal Empire, like the Rajputs. The Rajputs were very powerful at one point of time, but because the Delhi Sultanate people like Alauddin Khilji or Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, they were intolerant towards Hindus. Okay, they had this policy. So Rajputs were always at daggers drawn with those Muslim sultans. So Babur knew that it is not going to be a cakewalk for him. So to establish his position further in India, he had to wage few more battles in a row, like year after year. So 1526 was the first battle of Panipat. Then in 1526 itself, he had to fight a battle of Khanva on 17 March 1526 AD. And after the battle of Khanva, it was battle of Chanderi in 1528 AD, and after Chanderi, the Battle of Ghagra in 1529 AD. So, in a row, Panipat, then uh, Khanwa, and Chanderi, and Ghagra. He had to subdue the Afghans, he had to subdue the Rajputs who were there. And because, as I told you, Rajputs, so Rana Sanga is a well known name when we read Rajputana history. So the Battle of Khanwa, which happened on 17th March 1526 AD, was fought between the armies of Rana Sanga and the army of Babur. Rana Sanga was a very, very courageous man. And Rajputs, if you see, they are known for their warfare from the beginning. Like, they are known for their rule, they are known for their warfare, and they are tough fighters, tough warriors. So Rana Sanga, he actually, initially Babur wanted to have some, agreement with Rana Sanga so that he accepts his suzerainty and no battle happens at all. But because Rana Sanga was a Rajput, so he was not ready to do that. He said, let's have a battle. So the Rajput, they marched against Babur under the command of Rana Sanga in order to capture Agra and Bayana, because they were the main, Agra and Delhi were the main seats of the Delhi Sultanate Sultans. So they had all the infrastructure. So they wanted to capture those places. And Babur had already captured those two places when he came to India after the first battle of Panipat. So Rana Sanga, he wanted to capture this Bayana and Agra. So all the rebel Afghans were with him, and they achieved initial victory also against Babur. Initially, but the in the long run, they could not again defeat the forces of Babur. Because, see, artillery was first, and gunpowder, cannons were used by Babur for the very first time in India. Indian soldiers never knew about all these, things when it came to warfare. So, and with the voice of cannon, the elephants, they got really annoyed and they killed their own soldiers, because when an animal is annoyed, they will not think that that's why they are animals, because when they get annoyed, they will just stampede, and they will kill whoever comes on the way, whether it is your army, whether it is the enemy's army. So this was a plus point. This was an advantage for Babur in these all wars, whether it was Panipat or Khanwa or Chanderi or Ghagra. So, and then he had full preparations with his artillery, which was very efficient. But Rajputs were also very, very, courageous fighters. And Babur was aware of that, because they have heard the stories of Rajputs' courage and valor. So he was aware. So that's why he went fully prepared for these all battles. So in this battle, Rana Sanga was wounded in just in the beginning of the battle, and he was taken out of the battlefield. But the other soldiers could not stand the attack of Babur, and they have to give in. So after this, the Battle of Chanderi in 1528 AD happened, and Medini Rai was there of Chanderi, who was the close associate of Rana Sanga, and he had a contingent of about 5,000 Rajputs with him, who could create a problem for Babur at any time. So Babur thought it's better to, suppress them there and then. So this was Battle of Chanderi, and then Battle of Ghagra in 1529 AD. So one by one after another, he had restless days and nights, and his last days were also very uh, not so good, because he was unwell, and he passed away on 26 December 1630 AD. But if you want to know more about Babur, so he wrote his own autobiography, or which is known as Tuzuk-e-Babari or Babarnama, which is one of the best autobiographies which were written during the medieval period. So he describes the nature, the beauty, the prosperity of India in his memoirs. And many historians, they translated it from Persian to English so that other people could also read it. And it contains the account of Fargana, Samarkand, Kabul, Hindustan. He has written about his life, how he started and how he invaded India, and how he was able to establish Mughal rule in India. And he was a very keen observer of things. So everything in very minutely he has explained in his autobiography.
Well, when we're talking about Babar, and you have very profoundly and very elaborately described all the chronicles when he arrived in India. But I would like to understand a few things regarding Babar, because as I have come across that his phase of ruling was on three phases. He belongs to Fargana, that is modern day Uzbekistan, and that Fargana was a cradle of many great civilization. Even the outlawed Greek also established their empire in Fargana at that point, earlier than Babur. Now Babur has he ruled Fargana, then he ruled Samarkand, then he ruled Kabul, and then he came to India. I would like to understand what made him to really attack. That was my previous question also, or maybe I'll put in a way, what, why it was inevitable for Babur to come to India and attack and establish a Mughal empire.
Not only for Babur Kanchan, but all the foreign invaders who came to India. Their prime motive or goal was to plunder the wealth, number one, because India was a very, very prosperous country at that point of time. And with the Delhi Sultanate rule, they knew that, because Delhi Sultanate people were also not Indians, they were of foreign origin. And in a longer run, Indian people accepted their rule, they accepted their supremacy. So Babur also, because he had conquered Samarkand, he had conquered Kabul. So step by step, he was moving forward, and because India was everyone's, goal because of its prosperity. So that was the main reason that he wanted to conquer India and wanted to establish his rule in India. And he was successful because he came in a planned way. He, with his army, artillery, so he came in a planned way. So that's why he was able to establish the Mughal rule after this first battle of Panipat in 1526 AD.
Fine. And so we have discussed about how he established, how he was a good warrior. He was also a good, I think, intellectual person because you mentioned about Babar Nama. So, though the impact is immense regarding the attack of Babar on India because he established Mughal Empire. So, how you will rate Babar as a person, one, and second, how you will rate as a king or an emperor or a warrior? Three things: warrior, emperor, and as
As a warrior and as a commander, no doubt he was a very successful commander. He uh, motivated his army to walk such a long way, from Fargana to India to invade India, and all military tactics he and war of warfare he knew. As a king, see, he could not really see the fruits. He just sowed the seed because uh, after he established himself in India, it was a challenging path ahead for him because Rajputs, Afghans, they all were, trying to bring him down. But so that's why he was always on foot, one war, one battle, another battle, another battle. So in a row, four battles. And then by the time he could really rest and enjoy his life in India, he passed away. So as a king, administration he tried to establish in a very good way because already Alauddin's model of administration they adopted. Alauddin Khilji's central administration model. They carried it forward with little changes here and there. So everything was actually established by the time he came to India. Only because of the weak successors of Lodi dynasty, the Delhi Sultanate rule could not go forward. So, see, infrastructure was already there. Palaces were there, forts were there, and army was there, everything was there. So he just came and established his rule and tried to expand the territories more because with these battles he did that. He challenged Rana Sanga, he challenged Medini Rai, he challenged the Afghans who went against him, who wanted to, bring him down. So that all he did. So if you then you can sum up that he was a good commander, he was a good warrior, he was an able administrator. Because one thing we should not forget that he was of foreign origin, and establishing oneself in a foreign land is not an easy task. So he was, and though the language was different, because Persian, all of them spoke Persian, but still with that also they managed. So that way he was a good administrator, he was a good commander, and he was a good king.
Well, as we are discussing, and we have come to know that he was a good commander and he was a good king, a good administrator, and of course, a literary person. I would like to know, since you mentioned that he has to wage war with the Rajputs, and there are people. What I feel is he was having a fairly good understanding of Indian subcontinent's psyche or people. That's why he was able to really control few aspect of after the attack, a few aspect of Indian territories. Now you mentioned Rana Sanga, he also fought war with him. So what was his religious band of mind? How he really understood Indian people and how he coped with that kind of scenario uh, at his time.
He was a Muslim. Babar was a Sunni Muslim, and obviously his bent of mind was that. So he wanted to establish, the Muslim rule. Okay, that's why these states are known as theocratic states, because they are based on religion. So he wanted to do that, and he was anti-Hindu, 100%. It was only and only Akbar who understood that if he wants to uh, become a successful ruler, so he has to have friends with Rajputs. That's why Akbar started the policy of matrimonial alliances with the Rajputs. But Babur was, hardcore Muslim that way. So he and all these rulers who, if you see from Qutbuddin Aibak also, they have mentioned it time and again that because India is Darul Harb. Darul Harb is a land of non-believers of Islam. So they wanted to convert it into Darul Islam, place of land of believers. So that motive was always there. It was always there.
Well, in the last, I just want to ask you how you will summarize Babur and in context of his establishment of Mughal Empire in India.
See, we can just say simply that he was the founder of Mughal Empire in India, and he started a rule which was to last for long time period, starting from 1526 to 1707 AD, almost 2-3 decades. You see, so he was a good commander. He was a good administrator, and he was a good king if you see overall.
Well, we'll be taking this discussion forward in our next episode. We'll be discussing about Mughals and their policies in coming episodes. So today it was wonderful to talk to you, ma'am. It was nice to know more about Babur, who established Mughal Empire in India. So we'll be meeting again. Till then, bye bye, and you take.
Thank you, thanks.